chat and say something, see if I can see it. Then we'll go from there. We're down to 15. Uh-oh. Amy with the first comment. Is Amy the only one who's actually logged into YouTube and can make a comment? There we go. All right, guys, let's go ahead and just kind of talk about what we need to talk about. So first off, I mean, this is what we're going to have to do a couple times a week. That's kind of what they're wanting us to do to kind of make a connection other than just me emailing and writing messages. So we'll probably do this 2-3 days a week. I'm hoping this will work out good. Get some other people on there. How's the quarantine going? Who? Oh, Caden. He always has the weirdest names, whether it's Kahoot or YouTube. He always has his stuff. Quarantine is going good though. I hope everybody else is staying safe, staying healthy, staying away from Walmart where you get the bars. But anyway, this is kind of what we're going to be doing at least 2 or 3 days a week. So through the comments there, I see a lot of people are getting in there. You can ask us questions that you have on the assignments because we're moving forward, right? Like we talked about. So just make sure you have questions before we get into this. So that way we're not in here more than maybe 5-10 minutes. You can go on about your day and get your business done, whatever you need to do. I know we'll kind of see how YouTube goes and we'll see how this works out. I know a lot of people are using Google Meets. You're showing what's on your video too, and I love you guys, but I'm probably not trustworthy enough to trust that everybody's going to pull up something appropriate. I've already heard a couple sketchy things on some other teachers. So we're going to do it this way. One way video, you all can communicate in the chat, talk, ask questions, talk about some stuff. So just make sure you all get in these. Make sure if there's any technical issues, you let me know, and we'll definitely fix those and get that's how we need to do. Okay. But today we're going to be talking about second target. So second target got into polynomials. The two biggest things that I see that was new was synthetic substitution and talking about the end behavior of polynomial functions. So those are kind of the two things we're going to talk about. If you have questions specifically, ask those in the chat. I can see that all right here on my computer. So ask those. I can answer specific questions, or I can just talk about what I think most people are going to have some questions about or have struggles with as you get into that section. So we'll start with synthetic substitution. So basically this unit or this target is talking about knowing what a polynomial is, knowing what it isn't. When is it a polynomial function? When is it not? I think that's pretty clear through the definitions in the book. We don't need to spend a ton of time on that. But the second thing it gets into is direct versus synthetic substitution. So direct substitution is literally just input output, finding f of 3, taking 3, substituting for your x's, getting that back. Synthetic substitution is a way to get that same value, but through kind of an alternate method. Now, it may seem a little bit unnecessary as far as a little extra work when you can just go ahead and plug it straight in. But synthetic substitution is going to lead us into synthetic division, which is what we're going to get into later in this unit, and that's going to make a lot more sense. So let's just kind of talk about a couple examples, and then we'll get y'all out of here and make sure everybody's good. All right, I'll pull you in a little closer here to our board. We got a big glare, so let's see. All right, I think that's all right. So if you're looking at that second example or third example in your book, it's telling you to evaluate a coefficient, okay? Evaluate f of x for a certain value of x. So for example, let's say we have the polynomial equation f of x equals 2x cubed minus 10x to the second plus 8. Okay? And what we're trying to find is your instructions. Just find f of 2. Okay? So direct substitution is going to tell us take that 2, plug it in, and find your value. Now with synthetic substitution, you're going to have a couple steps. First step is going to be list out those coefficients. Okay, I hope you can read that because that looks pretty sloppy, but we'll go with it. So listing out your coefficients. So highest power is 3, so we're going to list that first coefficient of 2. Okay, then the next power would be to the second, so we're listing that negative 10. Now here's what you have to make sure with synthetic substitution that you don't forget is that there is an x squared term, but there is not an x term here. So we have to fill that place with a 0 when we list those coefficients out. Then our constant is 8, so we have an 8 at the end. So that's always your first step with synthetic substitution is listing out those coefficients. Then we're finding f of 2. So I'm going to put that 2 kind of up here to make sure we know that's what we're using. Okay. Second step is to bring that first coefficient down. So if I'm looking here, I'm bringing the first coefficient and I'm just bringing it down. Then really the last step that you have to do is you multiply, add, repeat. Multiply, add, repeat until, I know that's just a little bit off the screen. Last word here is repeat. So we're just going through our steps and we're taking this first coefficient, we're multiplying it by whatever we're evaluating for, just 2 in this case. So we multiply, 2 times 2 is 4. We add vertically, negative 10 plus positive 4 is negative 6. Then we repeat the process. So again, we're going to take this 2, multiply it here, put the product here. So 2 multiplied by negative 6 is negative 12. We add, then we repeat. 2 multiplied by negative 12 is negative 24. We add, and that is our answer. So through synthetic substitution, through synthetic substitution, we find that f of 2 is negative 16. Okay, so you can look at through some examples. You can ask specific questions if you get into your work from today that you have questions on, but that's basically your steps. Listing out those coefficients, making sure you don't miss ones that aren't there, bringing down that first coefficient, then multiply, add, repeat. Multiply, get that product here, add, repeat. Multiply, add, multiply, add until you get to that last coefficient and then you're finished because that gives you your answer that you're looking for. Okay? Like I said, maybe that seems like a little bit of overkill, but this is going to come into play when we're trying to divide 2 different polynomials because we're going to have to use synthetic division. Okay? Now, the last thing we're going to talk about on here for today is going to be kind of that last, let me make sure I'm on here. It's talking about end behavior. So the whole concept of end behavior of functions. So your book kind of throws it out a lot of different things and terminology, but really the biggest thing that you have to think about is really what's happening at the end. Okay, what's the function doing at the end? So I'm going to draw this function as an example. And we know that we always read graphs from left to right. Okay, so when we're talking about end behavior, we're talking about what is this function doing at the far left? What is this function doing at the far right? So a lot of times you'll see this written out. It'll say, as x approaches infinity. And you'll see that written. All that means is as your x values are increasing infinitely. So as this graph is increasing to the right, what is the function doing? So on the far right side, this function is going up. We know with this arrow, that means that function increases endlessly. So as x is approaching infinity, we know that f of x, or your y, is approaching infinity also, because it's also increasing endlessly. So it's just that simple notation that says, okay, as your x is increasing, what your output or your f of x or your y value, whatever you want to call it, is doing. And then on this side, we're going to write it as x approaches negative infinity, which means as x moves to the left on your graph and increases endlessly, what is your function doing? Well, this function is decreasing. So it's moving downward. So obviously that would mean that f of x, or your output, is approaching negative infinity also. Now, are those always going to be the same? Definitely not. You'll see some examples in your work today that kind of flip-flops that and shows both, but it's definitely not always if one's infinity, the other one's infinity. So just keep that in mind. So those are basically the main two things. Does anybody else have any issues from your work that you've seen? Any specific questions? What's up, buddy? We got a visitor. What? Let me scoot you back. You got to stand up right here. Okay. There's the. What's up?
What? Hey. Subscribe to Taylor Guarantee. Like.
Crazy. All right, so let me touch on Caden's question right there. So in the first example, Caden, it was f of x. I think that was the first example. So in the first step, we have to list the coefficients. So we have an x to the third coefficient. We list first. Then we have an x to the second coefficient that we list second. But then there is no x term. So you see here, there's no term that has an x. So that means if that term isn't there, that coefficient is 0. So even though it's not represented in the original function rule, we have to include it in our coefficients. So we have to include a 0 there. Then your constant will go here. Because when you list those coefficients, each one of these have to be represented. If your largest degree is x to the third, then it has to be x to the second, x to the first, and then your constant. So just make sure you include those and you see if there's one missing that it's not there. Okay, so that should zoom you out here. All right, so that should have us kind of what we need to do. The biggest thing I see people asking is how do you submit? I know, shout out to Amy and Hannah. They've already submitted their stuff. They both just took pictures of their work and emailed it to me. That seems to be just the easiest way. You don't have to download an app. You don't have to do anything new. You don't have to go onto Google Classroom. You literally just snap a picture, pull up your email, attach the picture to the email, and send it. So that's how I would suggest first. If any of you all can find an easier way, let me know, and I will definitely pass that information on, whether it be on Google Classroom. There has to be a way where you can send pictures like that as well. So if it's on Google Classroom and you find a way to send it to me, send it to me. Really, however you can get it to me, that's fine. So you have today and tomorrow to complete the assignment that I posted today. So just take your time, get that finished, and try to have that submitted to me by the end of the week. And that's when I'll start posting those grades on Infinite Campus, okay? So screenshots, email it to me. Yeah, it can be through a personal email. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't have to be your official school email as long as you just screenshot it and email it to me. Okay? All right. So this will probably be like the longest one because, I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. But for real, guys, stay safe. If you need anything personally, academically, you definitely let us know, because I know it's a crazy time. Like we said before I left, this is uncharted territory. No school has ever had to plan for this long of a break. And who knows if we're back in 3 weeks. So I don't know. So we'll be doing more of these just to connect and let you all ask questions and to make sure that that you all are good. Okay, because that's kind of our focus. Academically, we want to do what we need to do to move forward, but we want to make sure that you all are good for sure. So let us know if you need anything. Let me know, and we got you. So that is basically it for today. If nobody has any more questions, personally, meaning it don't have to be an academic question. If you have something you need personally, right? You have something that you're facing. Hey, you reach out. We got you. I know it's going to be crazy. Everybody quarantined and everybody at their house or here and there, and some people aren't in the best situation. So personally, if you're dealing with something and you need help with something, reach out. Okay, we'll definitely. I'll personally do my best to help you, or we'll get you to someplace that or some person that can definitely get you what you need. That's kind of what that means. Now, academically, we need to get done what we need to get done and try to move forward as best we can. But that's kind of what that is meaning. Anybody else have any questions before we go? All right, guys. We will. I'll post it. We won't have another one until next week. Today's Thursday, so maybe Tuesday of next week we'll have another one, kind of touch base. We'll also probably have a quiz next week, sometime Wednesday, Thursday. That'll be through Google Forms, like we did at the beginning of the year. So you'll be able to use your notes, use the videos, whatever you need. But more information will come on that. You have today and tomorrow. So definitely be in touch, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. See ya.